Hey everyone, welcome back to another Home Critic Review. This time we're going to talk about Finding Dory. Now I'll admit, I'm about a week late with this review, but that's because I was kind of reluctant to see the movie at first. I thought it was going to be overhyped by the critics, and I thought that it was going to play to a much younger audience. Because this is coming 13 years after Finding Nemo, and everyone who saw the first movie is either in their late teens or early 20s, so I didn't really think that it was going to really cater to that audience. Plus, I was a little self conscious. I mean, what do I look like going up to the cash register? Like, can I get a ticket for Finding Dory? But I watched that movie in a room full of young adults, and I gotta say, that movie was definitely one of my favorite Pixar movies to date. So, like I said, this movie is coming 13 years after Finding Nemo. Now, I don't know if you want to call this movie a sequel because this movie doesn't really follow Marlin and Nemo. It's following Dory. She's the main character, she's the lead in this film, and this movie is all about her in every sense of the way. So, you can choose to call it a sequel. I would consider it more of like a spinoff, but whatever you want to call it, you pretty much know the plot going into it. Dory is trying to find her family after all these years. In this movie, she seems to be getting some memories and some flashbacks to her childhood, which is what sparks this adventure for her to go out and find her family. Now, I'm not going to really talk too much about the plot because that is the whole plot. I mean, every Pixar movie kind of follows the same theme in one way or another. But I thought this movie did a couple things that really made it work as a sequel. Because as we all know, sequels have a hard time being as good as the original movie, especially when the original movie, in this case, is Finding Nemo. I thought all of the voice actors did a great job in this movie. I really loved hearing Marlin for some reason again. Nemo was great, despite the fact that it's 13 years later, he still sounds exactly the same. And Ellen Degeneres kills it as Dory. I think her voice is really unique and it really pulls off the quirky characteristics of Dory in a way I don't think really any other female voice actor could. So props to her. I also like that they brought back the turtles and Skip and things like that made the movie feel like it wasn't 13 years later. Like as I was listening to his characters and seeing them on the screen, it kind of brought me back to my childhood when I was first watching Finding Nemo. And because I was so into this movie, I completely forgot that it's been 13 years since I saw the first one, and it felt like I was just watching this right after Finding Nemo. So this movie does a really great job in not feeling like it's really late or dated, and it really brings you back to where you were during the time of the first one. I really liked Hank the Octopus, and the reason is going into this movie, I wasn't sure that Marlin and Nemo were going to be in it. In fact, I thought this movie was going to take place before they had met, or I thought this movie was going to take place maybe years after they kind of went their own separate ways. So while they are still in the movie, I kind of didn't want them to be in the movie because I thought it would have made a lot of the movie feel like it was retreading the first one. But I like that they had Hank in there because he kind of fills in Marlin's role as kind of like the foil to Dory, the character who's like opposite of her, and they create that really interesting dynamic. And it was just entertaining and fun to watch throughout. Plus, he was a pretty funny character. I also like the use of the flashbacks in this movie. Now, I don't know how or why Dory is suddenly getting all of these flashbacks to her childhood, but I thought the first scene where we see baby Dory and we see her with her parents, that scene was, that scene was, I don't really want to say cute, but it is what it is. But I really liked Baby Dory in that scene, and I thought that was going to be it for her. I thought she was only going to show up in the beginning of the movie, but I like that they kept bringing her back over and over again throughout the whole movie. I thought that the flashbacks made sense and helping her to lead her towards her parents and kind of move the story forward so it wasn't too predictable where we were going throughout the whole movie. And I normally don't like this format of present tense flashback, but here they do it well, and whenever anything is done well, I'm a fan of it. So here, I really enjoyed the scenes where she went back and I got to see more of that cute baby Dory. Now, this movie isn't exactly very joke heavy and there aren't a lot of big laughs, but it's very, very, very entertaining throughout. And it has a lot of heart and it has like this sense of adventure because you're seeing these little fish do all these things. Like, I didn't expect that whole final scene or act to take place. I thought it was the end for them. But this movie is really fun, and I think that Disney does a great job, as always, using their imagination to bring really fun characters to life on the big screen and provide pure entertainment, even if it's not as funny as I thought it was going to be. but still a good time. Now, because this is a Disney movie, there's obviously going to be those one or two mandatory cheesy moments. And in this movie, it has to do with family because obviously, in the search for her parents, Dory was going to inevitably find out that Marlin and Nemo is her family. So while that was kind of cheesy and while that was kind of predictable, they did it in a way that it didn't come across as really annoying to me. So I'm thankful for that. Now, something that I thought was going to ruin the movie, but they quickly fixed, was Dory herself. Now, she has short-term memory loss, just in case you didn't know. And I guarantee you, within the first 10 minutes, it's going to be impossible to forget. Because I don't know if it's short-term memory loss or just short attention span, but she says it like literally every 5 seconds. She goes, "Hi, I'm Dory. I have short-term memory loss." "Who are you?" "Hi, I'm Dory. I have short-term memory loss." And that was like the first maybe 10, 15 minutes of this movie. And I was like, my God, is she going to do this the whole movie? Like, I can see why Marlin and other characters in the movie would be annoyed with her because it is really annoying. But thankfully, they find other ways throughout the movie to remind you that she has short term memory loss, despite the fact that the audience doesn't and we don't need a reminder, but she feels the need to constantly say it. So at least they kind of find other ways to bring it up throughout the movie rather than her just explicitly saying it. That really would have kind of killed the movie for me if they didn't. And something that this movie did really well is it kind of brought out a couple emotions because you don't really realize how miserable it must be to have short-term memory loss until you see Dory like out in the big blue ocean by herself. Like she's a little fish on her own trying to find her family, but unfortunately she doesn't remember where they are. She can barely remember what they look like. She doesn't even remember their names. Like it really kind of brings out those sad elements in a way that I wasn't really expecting. So I really enjoyed that. And it really makes you feel for her at times. Now, I'm not sure if this is a spoiler alert, but I guess you can mute this if you don't want to find out. But the scene where Dory finds her family was a great scene for me because at the point when she does, she's kind of hit rock bottom. Like she's separated from Marlin and Nemo again. She's out on her own, all by herself. She can't find anyone, and it seemed like she was so close to finding them. And she really was about to start from scratch all over again. And I was just thinking to myself, like, my God, she might never really find her parents. But then she sees those shells and she starts following them, and you can see the whole audience kind of getting excited. And that scene where you see the cove with all the shells from different directions laid out, that scene was so gratifying. And the scene right after when her and her parents reunite, that was a scene that had the whole audience applauding and cheering, and I thought that was very well deserved because they built up to that moment throughout the whole movie, laying little pieces one at a time like a puzzle. And when it all came together, I thought that was one of the more emotionally satisfying moments of the whole movie, and the payoff just really, really worked. So I really, really enjoyed that part. I'm you. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the message of Dory herself. This movie does a really great job turning her weakness into her strength. With Marlin saying, "What would Dory do?" And then kind of having Dory embrace herself and embrace her flaws and find out that maybe despite having short term memory loss, she's capable of doing great things. And I really enjoyed how they got that message across in this movie, especially during that scene with the character in the movie who prefers to kind of live his life according to a plan. And she says life doesn't really have a plan. Nothing ever goes according to plan in life. Things are going to be unexpected, and you're going to have to find a way to work past it and just keep swimming. And while that message is very cliched by itself, coming from Dory, it felt much more relevant and it came across as much more powerful. Overall, there's really nothing bad to say about this movie. This is probably one of my favorite Pixar movies. Though I don't really know if that means much because all Pixar movies are about 8.5 to 10 for me, and they're all separated by like a hundredth of a point. But either way, I really enjoyed Finding Dory. Chances are you've seen it. What did you think? Did you think this movie was better than Finding Nemo? Personally, I did. Did you think this movie was on par or worse? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Also, be sure to give this video a like, share it where you can, and be sure to subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be very active in the months to come, given that there's going to be a lot of cool movies coming out this summer. So, thank you guys for watching. Be sure to... Oh, I said that already. So, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Fun fact, while the Marine Institute of Life isn't real, trust me, I looked it up, there are many real organizations fighting to protect marine life in the ocean, one of them being Oceana. To find out more, click the link in the description. Thank you.